Hi, I'm Sam. Welcome to my channel. And in today's video, I'm going to be going over all of the 11 books I read in the month of September. Oh my god. So, September, I read 11 books, and coincidentally, it ended up being one of the best reading months I had all year. Period. Anyways, so today we're just going to be going over what I read, what I rated them, my thoughts, opinions, because that's what I know everyone's dying to know, is my thoughts and my opinions. Okay, so let's start with the first book I read in September, which is Killer Instinct by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. Now, this is the second book in the Natural series, and I'm pretty behind on reading this series. I didn't read the Naturals until last month, and I had the Naturals sitting on my physical TBR for like a year, and I'm literally kicking myself pissed that I did not start it earlier, because I'm obsessed with this series now. So I read the Naturals. Obviously, I had to pick up the second book, Killer Instinct, and this whole series kind of follows kids that get recruited by the FBI to kind of help them solve cold cases and stuff like that. And it's so good. Chef's kiss. Jenny really did it with this. So I rated Killer Instinct a 4-star. It is obviously a continuation from the first book, but what they cover in this book is kind of completely separate, in my opinion, from what goes on in the first book. Obviously, you have the same characters, you have a little bit of like, some of the lore is the same, but the main events and the main plots that take place, I feel, are their own story in this book. And I really enjoyed it, and I gave it 4 stars. Then, the second book I read in September, I was locking in to the Naturals. I read All In by my girl, Jennifer Lynn Barnes, and All In is the third book. It is my favorite. I am still thinking about this book right now, and we are in the big one, October. I'm still thinking about All In. That book, I read it in one day, one sitting. I could not put it down. It was so good. I gave it 4.5 stars, and I mean, if you can tell, I still can't fully process what happened in that book. I wish I could explain more about what really went on in that book, but all I gotta say is the Fibonacci sequence goes crazy. And if you know, you know what I mean. And yeah, so that was the second book I read in September. The third book I read in September was Bad Blood, the fourth book in the Natural series, by my girl, Jennifer Lynn Barnes. Now, as I previously just stated, I read All In one sitting, was eating it up. I had it on Libby. I think I was 75% into it at this point, and I was like, I need to read Bad Blood now. I wasn't even finished with the third book, and I said, and give me the fourth book. So I drove my happy little butt over to Barnes & Noble, and I immediately purchased Bad Blood. And it was everything I could have hoped for and more. It was truly like one of the craziest endings to a series I've probably ever read. Now, the fourth book I gave 4.5, same as All In, and I did equally enjoy them, but I do think about All In more, if that makes sense. But I did equally enjoy them, and the thing about my girl Jenny is she's going to get you every single time with those plot twists. There is not going to be a single time you feel safe. You're always going to be thrown off, and I'm eating it up. And with the Natural series, there's the Naturals novella, which is called 12, which is the fourth book? What am I on? Fourth book I read in the month of September. I read the 12 novella, and I am just going to start by saying this. I purchased the 12 novella on my Kindle. It was like $5. I was like, okay, period. Purchased that. Then purchased this. Purchased this after I bought the novella, by the way. And there's a happy little sentence on the back that lets you know that the novella is already in this. So I do have 2 copies of the novella. Period. Because this book, let me double check for you. She's thick, but I think the actual book ends up coming to about like 300 pages, something like that. 350 pages, which is roughly how long the other 4 books in the series are. Anyways, they're very quick, easy reads. Love them. And then, yeah, this is the novella in the back. So, anyways, PSA, if you're looking to read this series, the novella's already in here. So don't worry about that. So, the 12 novella, let's talk about her. Easy breezy, beautiful. It was like short, 120-ish pages. I think it was 200 pages actually. Was it necessary? No. Do I love them and I don't care? Yeah. One of like my favorite found families as of recently that I've read. I enjoy all of her characters are so unique and you learn their personalities throughout the series so well. And then reading 12 is kind of like individual look into each of their point of views and kind of like you learn more of why their personality is the way it is. It was enjoyable. It was nice to read. It was a good end wrap up of the story, but it makes me want more books in this universe. If you read the novella, you know kind of what I'm getting at. But yeah. And with reading the novella, that ended my journey with the Naturals universe. So the next book I read in September was one of my most anticipated releases of the year, and that is Wildcard by Elsie Silver. And I love my girl Elsie. I love Elsie. Reckless is one of my favorite books of all time. Chestnut Springs is one of my favorite series of all time. I've been loving the Rose Hill Ranch series so far. Is it Rose Hill Ranch or just Rose Hill? Anyways, I've been loving the Rose Hill series. And so I was really looking forward to Wildcard when it came out. I went to Barnes the day it came out, got myself a little exclusive copy, and I was disappointed. I really hate to say it. I just did not care to a point. I want to say, okay, let's backtrack. I have been really weird about romance right now. I don't know if I'm in a romance slump or my taste is just changing. I don't know. But every time I've been picking up a romance, I'm just like, man, it's not hitting right now. And that's what my fear was when I decided to pick up Wildcard. I was like, I don't know. Like, I know it just came out. I know I really want to read it, but romance hasn't been hitting. And I will say, I do not think that is the case for why I did not like this book. I think I just genuinely did not enjoy this book. Now this follows 2 characters you previously see throughout the rest of the Rose Hill series, and I was interested to get Bash's story and everything, but yeah, I didn't end up caring, unfortunately. So big thing about this series is every single book is a single dad trope, and that's fine. But to me, he does not qualify to fit that category to me. I liked Gwen. I really enjoyed Gwen, our female main character, but towards the end, some of the stuff they were doing, I was like, man, I don't really know. I don't really care. I think also their meet cute, obviously most meet cutes are very unrealistic, but something about theirs, I was like, this is not giving chemistry. This is not giving realistic. I'm not feeling it with this meet cute. But I tried to persevere, tried to push past it, and I want to say about the 75% mark was when I was like, this isn't hitting. I don't really care. They should just be together. Why are we doing this? Third act conflict I wasn't really vibing with. And that is really unfortunate to say. As this was wrapping up the Rose Hill series, I gave her a 2.75. It would have been a 3, but again, that third act, what am I calling it? Third act. Oh my god, I just lost the word. Our third act conflict. It made it go from a 3 to a 2.75. Thank you. Next. Okay, so after Wildcard, I was like, let's step back from the romance. Maybe again, I'm just in a romance slump. I don't know. So I decided to pick up Killers of a Certain Age by Deanna Raybourn, which this is another book that I've had on my physical TBR for a while. So decided to pick this up, not really knowing literally anything about it. All I knew is that it was about some old ladies and they were killers. And that's pretty much exactly what this is. It's a group of women, they're all in their 60s, they're celebrating their retirement, and they're all kind of like secret assassins like that. And they're celebrating their retirement and they basically have to work together one last time. That's the gist of it. And this was a very interesting premise. I enjoyed reading about older women, I guess, because most books I read are female main characters are usually like late teens, like 30s, 40s. So it was interesting to read, like women in their 60s and what they're going through, and like obviously they're very like traveled women. I don't know. They're very interesting characters, and I did enjoy like, some of their stories are funny, some of their banters are funny, like they're really good friends, and that's like cute to read. And I do think the mystery of it all and kind of what they're going through, it also is very interesting. I don't think, however, it was executed as well as I would have liked it to be. There was a lot of times where I was just kind of reading through and I was like, right, okay, what's the point of this? Like, this is taking too long. What are we talking about? So about halfway through reading it, I decided to pick up the audio, and I did really enjoy the audio. I was crafting while I listened to the audio, and the audio was nice because there are quite a bit of characters, and I like listening to audios when there's a lot of characters because I think the voices are fun. Thank you so much for asking. But yeah, it was cute. I'd recommend it. 3 stars. And after Killers of a Certain Age, I picked up The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. Yet another book that has been sitting on my shelf. Who'd have thought? Oh my god. Now, going into this, I knew a bit more. I knew that our main male character, Linus, he's assigned to go visit this orphanage, basically check on all the kids, make sure they're taken care of, whatever. And all the different children are kind of these like mythical beings, like fantasy beings. They're all like completely different things. They make this book, those kids. I love them. What was unexpected for me in this book was the romance. I really enjoyed the romance in this book, which again is crazy because I've been hating on romance, but this one kind of ate it up with the romance, I'm not gonna lie. And I will say, one thing I was hating on, TJ, I'm sorry I was hating on you. The chapters are so long in this book. And if you're someone like me where you like kind of not base your reading, but you kind of like read to the chapter, you're like, okay, next chapter, like I'll read however many pages and then I'll put the book down or whatever. Just know these chapters you're looking about like 30 to 45 pages like each time. And again, as someone who reads like 2 each chapter, sometimes it was a struggle. And I did really, really enjoy this book. The characters are so endearing. It's so like whimsical, the world that he built. And it's just such a unique premise and characters, and the way they interact is just so like sweet and genuine, and it's so endearing. I love them. However, I understand that there are children in this book, and because of that, you're kind of in the place of like some of the characters are actively teaching life lessons to the children, which, okay, that's great, that's fine, that's beautiful. However, I am not a child, so I do not want to hear these life lessons written out, like long-winded written out, as if they're being spoken to a child. I know, I'm sorry. Because some people, I fear, they eat it up. I was not one of them. It kind of made, again, like the chapters were so long, it did make it drag out a little bit, because I'm reading all these like epiphanies and life lessons, but they're being told to like a 6-year-old. I'm not a 6-year-old. So after a while it did kind of get annoying. But I still just love them so much. All these characters. I did eventually start listening to the audiobook. I think like towards the end I started listening to the audio, and again, listening to, if I recommend listen to the audio of this book if you can, like, because there's so many characters, and again, they're such like interesting beings. Listening to them is so funny, and I gave this a 4 star. And so then, wouldn't you know it, I'm at the library, and what do they have? Somewhere Beyond the Sea by T.J. Klune, the second book to House in the Cerulean Sea. So of course I had to pick it up. Very, very similar to the first book. Obviously all the same characters, everything like that. Now, I am going to start by saying, did I think that a sequel was necessary? No. I think the way The House in the Cerulean Sea ends was perfect. You do not need to read this. If you enjoy the characters enough, yeah, I would definitely recommend reading this. Like, there's so much funny moments, banter, like romance, if you will, like all of it. We got it in here. I felt the same way about it as I did the first one for a lot of it. You know, like, I was enjoying our characters, I was enjoying the plot, I was enjoying where we were going with everything. I, again, was still bothered by our long-winded life lessons. That's what I'm going to refer to them as. Maybe they're not necessarily life lessons, but you know what I mean. There's a bit towards the end of this book. I can't really say too much because you have to read the first book to know what I'm talking about, but whatever. Towards the end of this book, there is a twist. I guess you could say a twist happens at the end with one of our characters from the first book. And I don't know why, but I just felt like it was very unnecessary. I did not like it. I was just like, what? Like, because again, okay, obviously these books are fantasy. Obviously, like, some of the characters and like the magic system and like everything going on is obviously like one thing, but then what happens with this one character, I was just like, and that's too far. I was like, and TJ, you ruined it. Like, I just really, I couldn't get it. I was like, and that's where I draw the line, unfortunately. And it did change this from a 4 star to a 3.5 for me, because I was just like, I want to say it was like 80 pages to the end, maybe 100 pages to the end. I was just like, yeah, I really don't like that. And again, maybe I'm just being really annoying, but that was it. 3.5. Okay. Now this next book. I know I've been saying, I haven't been liking romance, I haven't been liking romance, I haven't been liking romance, whatever. But I wanted to try again, okay? Whatever. So I picked up People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry, which was my last traditionally published Emily Henry book to read. And I did DNF this. Not right now. I DNF'd it a year ago. Last February, I DNF'd this book. And I don't really remember why. I think I got like 80 pages in the first time I tried to read it, and I just remember like not caring, which I literally wasn't even to the actual plot yet, and I was like, I don't care. So I did DNF this, and so I picked it up again because the movie's coming out, and I was like, if I ever want to see the movie, I at least need to read it, because that would bother me forever. So I picked it up, and this is about our two main characters, Poppy and Alex. It's friends to lovers. So it's kind of like how they became friends and like history throughout their friendship. And then eventually later in the book, you find out like why their friendship ends. And so that's going on in between our actual story in the present, which again, you're trying to like piece together why their friendship ended in the first place, and they're like rekindling their friendship, whatever. And I really enjoyed our MMC Alex. I'm not gonna lie, he might be like one of my favorite like male Emily Henry characters. And I wish I could tell you why. Fully off of vibes. I really like him. Also, I know Tom Blythe is playing him in the movie. I could not picture him as Tom Blythe. For whatever reason, I couldn't see it. I'm just a really certified hater right now. Anyways, with friends to lovers, I'm very particular about my friends to lovers. Like, I'm not a notoriously big fan of friends to lovers because there's always that aspect of there's another person in the picture somewhere eventually along the lines, and that is always going to bother me a little bit. And this book is no exception to that. I genuinely think they should stay friends. Is that so terrible? I could not stand Poppy, our FMC, half the time. I think she got really selfish at points, and I think they should stay friends. And I also think, okay, I think the reason their friendship ended was dumb. But I did give it a 4-star. I gave it a 4-star because, again, I loved Alex. I loved Alex enough to give this a 4-star. And also, it's like, right at the end, when I thought Emily Henry was losing me, bro, she pulls me back in. She pulls me back in. Her writing is just so... Her writing is beautiful, even if I can't stand one of the characters. Thank you so much, Emily. Loving you, Emily. And next, I read what I would say is my favorite book of the month. Fully, no question. And that is The Wishing Game by Meg Schaefer. Oh my gosh. I loved this book. I'm still thinking about this book. This book is such a unique storyline. So essentially what takes place is this woman, what's her name? This girl, Lucy. So our FMC Lucy, she is... What's Lucy doing? So essentially, Lucy gets invited to this contest that's being put on by a children's author, and it's essentially a mirror. The contest is like a mirror of how his books are set up. So Emily goes, visits with him, competes in this contest, and kind of just follows her through her journey. And then there's other point of views from a close friend of the children's author, and there's a little romance between them that goes on, and it's really short, like less than 300 pages, and it was so unexpectedly like beautiful. Like, I sobbed at the end. I still don't know why. I just absolutely lost it, bawled at the end. It's so interesting, and I think I also really enjoyed it because I did recently watch Matilda. If you've read this book, you kind of know what I'm talking about. And Lucy is very much Miss Honey. If you've ever watched Matilda, read Matilda, Lucy is Miss Honey. So reading her, thinking about Miss Honey, and then the author who sets up the contest and all of his books, they just remind me so much of like the Magic Tree House books. So maybe I was just being very reminiscent of like my childhood when I read this. But it's so beautiful, the ending, the writing, like how everything wraps up, the story, the setting. Oh, it's so good. If you have not read this book, I recommend forever and ever and ever read this book. I need to read everything Meg Schaefer has ever written. I'm thinking about her heavy. I forgot to say, I gave this a 4.5. I might bump it up to a 5 though, because I keep thinking about it. Anyways, the last book I read in September was One of Us is Lying by Karen M. McManus, and this is a YA thriller. I did fully buy it because it looks very similar to Holly Jackson books, which is that either of their faults? No, but it did influence me to buy it. And this essentially follows a group of high schoolers who are being framed for murder that they all witness. And it's basically just like a deep dive into each of their lives, what they're all going through. Like, what led them to where they were when they saw the murder, whatever, and just their different paths. For whatever reason, I wanted this to be like them working together to solve this murder that they're all being framed for. And it did get to that eventually, but it took too long. This book is almost 400 pages, 350 pages, 350 pages. And for the first like 250 pages was just us like following each of their point of views and kind of deep diving more into their lives. And we didn't really get to solving any of the mystery until the last 100 pages. Which, when they did start solving it, I was not shocked by what they found out. And I don't know if that's because y'all obviously saw the other books I read. I don't know if that's because I was reading a lot of thrillers and a lot of mysteries and I'm just like seeing the patterns right now. I don't know, but I was not very shocked at the end. I was like, okay, great. But all that being said, the writing is very easy to follow. It is a very enjoyable read. I read it very quickly. So I did give it a 3. And I do have the next 2 books in the series, which I am interested to read eventually because I want to know what more she can do with this story. I do like the characters. I think they all were developed great. But again, the actual plot, I was like, meh. And that's it. And that's it. And that's all I got. So that is all the 11 books I read in the month of September. Thank you so much for watching. You're a real one if you watch this. Thank you so much. And hopefully I'll keep posting videos. Who knows? If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. If you didn't like this video, don't say anything. Thank you so much. Bye. Come back next episode.